The agent that has the local market knowledge has a massive advantage. The one that has relationships has a massive advantage. And the agent who's willing to go work and earn their money, because I personally believe buyer's agents are overpaid. Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And I'm Bryan, Koci, Director of Marketing here at Whissel Realty Group.
The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. Rather than us guessing at what you want to hear about, we just listen to what you want to hear about. And so if you want to tell us what you want to hear about, you can go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel. You can join our referral network, our email newsletter, and our private Facebook group where we share a lot of insider stuff. And you can get dialed in with our video content creation course where you can learn everything Bryan and I have learned over the last 7 years of shooting videos together. And we condense that down into a few hours of content. So all of that is at thewhisselway.com. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you're enjoying the show. If you have a comment, make sure, or a question, throw it in the comment section and hit the subscribe button and little notification bell so YouTube can notify you when we release future episodes of the show. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, hook us up with a review. Reviews are really hard to get on podcast. One review makes a huge difference. So if you could take 5 minutes and just write a quick review, whether you're on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, whatever you're listening on, it means a whole lot to us. So it's greatly appreciated. And with that said, Bryan, what are we talking about today?
So I kind of wanted to put you on the spot a little bit today. I like doing that. Yeah. I want to talk about...
Can't phase me.
Okay, we're doing role play again. Let's go. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of where you see real estate headed. It's already undergone a lot of changes in the last 5 years, even the last 2 years. Things have really changed. And I feel like the change is happening at an accelerated pace, just like how technology speeds up everything. I mean, if we think about it, there were no iPhones pre-2007. From 2007 to now, it's leaps and bounds before the previous 15 years. So I kind of want to see what your vision is for the future of real estate and the real estate agent. And then I want to talk about how can we, using that knowledge, using those assumptions, what can we do to make sure that real estate agents are still viable, that they're still valuable, that there still is a spot for them.
Okay.
And you got 15 minutes to go.
This will be fun. I'm going to force you, though, to engage. How do you feel that real estate has changed?
I feel it's really becoming more centralized. I think it's becoming, I mean, you can see that with some of the big lead portals like Zillow and Realtor.com. I feel like there's a lot more of a centralized spot that consumers go to. A lot of the value that real estate agents had in the past of controlling all of the listings is now in the hands of the consumer. So I feel like those that are hanging on to, well, I'm an agent, you should use me because I used to give a lot of value, are developing value at a slower pace than what the economy is providing.
Okay. I'm actually looking this up while we're talking because I'm curious to look at the trend. So if I look at like the overall trend line for like how many people are searching the word Zillow or Realtor.com, it's not substantially increasing.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. The difference is I don't think they're searching Zillow, but when they're searching real estate, Zillow is number one. They've got the money, they've got the SEO, they've got the data. So even if they're not searching for Zillow, they're searching for homes for sale wherever. Zillow is going to be one of the top 3 every single time right now.
Okay.
So even if they're not searching it, they're still going to be. I bet you if you looked at the graph of the data from Zillow, I'm sure their numbers have shot up in the last 10 years.
Okay, that's fair. I think that, sure, they're getting more traffic. I know that there's been stats that have come out, and the number of leads that have been generated on websites like Zillow, Realtor, Truly, all those websites, the quantity of leads has increased substantially, but the number of transactions is staying the same, which means that the quality of the lead is lower than it was 5 years ago. So while there may be more traffic, more inquiries on those websites, it doesn't directly correlate to meaning there's more closings because of those websites. Those, I agree with you. I think that those have become amazing informational sites. But the reality of it is if you look at how many homes were bought through real estate agents a year ago versus 5 years ago, it hasn't substantially changed.
I don't think correct, and I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not the predictor.
Yeah.
But like seeing what Zillow did with Zillow offers, although it didn't work out well. But
nor is it working for any of the other guns either.
But I think that's V1, or I don't think they're going to be like, well, all right, we'll just go back to the website and not push forward again. I think they're going to probably regroup and do something, either a better version of it, or there's going to be some sort of revamp. And so there's that portion of it, the consumer side, but it's also, if we look at the real estate agent side, it's changed from, hey, let me spend a couple bucks on a Facebook lead or 20 bucks on a Zillow lead. When I first came there, 20, 30, 50 bucks, to now 700 bucks on a Zillow lead, to now 35, 40, 50, whatever the percentage is on the Zillow lead. They're becoming exponentially more expensive.
Okay.
So I think that might push some people out. That might consolidate into larger teams. I'm just curious what your vision is of the future for the real estate agent, I guess, and the consumer.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the desire for a higher level of service and knowledge, I think, is continuing to increase. So I think the expectations are much higher than they were. I think we went through a phase where previously you had to have an agent to even know what was for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right when my dad got in the business many years ago, like there was an MLS book. Like you had to go drive somewhere once a week and pick up the book, the MLS book. And only realtors had the book. So at that point, like realtors were a necessity, but the value they provided was access to the properties. Over time, that has now shifted to where, right, that every MLS in the world has given up all of the properties to these websites like a Zillow, Realtor, Trulia. So that is not the power in the realtor anymore. That's not what draws somebody to the realtor. What draws somebody to the realtor now is local market knowledge is huge. Reputation and brand is huge.
Like getting reviews on your podcast?
Like getting
or
reviews.
Or reviews on your business?
Yeah, like those of you that are listening, like actually writing a review if you're listening on a podcast platform, or subscribing to the channel if you're on YouTube, and writing a comment and hitting the thumbs up button. All that stuff like really matters.
Yeah.
So I think that, the expectations have changed of the agent, where the expectation before was like, you're what gives me access to these properties, to now, like, you're the knowledge broker. You're the person who has the knowledge that I can't find online. Because I think, well, these big guys are crushing for the generic search terms and general knowledge. What they don't provide is that local market knowledge. Like, we're here in La Mesa in San Diego right now, and understanding the difference between being in the 91941 zip code of Mount Helix versus the 92020 part of Mount Helix versus the 91978. There's literally 3 zip codes on the mountain. Like, understanding the difference between the 3 zip codes, and understanding that which properties are within the city limits and which ones are within the county limits on the mountain, to like add more layers to it. To understand those details and understand the rules of each of those 3 cities are drastically different, and which ones can you Airbnb in, which ones can you not, which ones can you add an ADU in, which ones can you not, what are the rules around adding ADUs, and all of that. Like, that's the shit that Zillow and Realtor and Trulia don't have. And I think that's what's required of an agent today, is to have that local market knowledge that the big guys can't have. So that now if somebody does go shopping and fills out forms on all these websites and they get connected with 10 different realtors, the realtor who actually has that knowledge is the one who's going to win more often than not. So I think that's a big part of it. I also think the realtor that understands that their job is not just to open doors. I think that far too many realtors think like my job is to set somebody up on a search. They tell me what they want to see and I open the door and I let them in the house. Like those realtors, especially right now, are struggling in this hyper competitive market. The ones who haven't done enough to determine what a buyer's needs are, that don't have relationships with listing agents and are just flat out freaking lazy and are waiting for properties to hit the MLS as opposed to leveraging their relationships to find off-market opportunities and leveraging just some good hard work to go and create opportunities that don't already exist. So I think the agent that has the local market knowledge has a massive advantage. The one that has relationships has a massive advantage. And the agent who's willing to go work and earn their money, because I personally believe buyer's agents are overpaid. If you consider yourself a good agent because you meet with the client, you set them up for a search on your website or on the MLS, and then you wait for them to call you and tell you what they want to see, I think you suck as an agent. I don't think you deserve to make what you make, because Zillow can do that shit for them.
And they do it really well.
Redfin can do it for you. Like those websites can do it for you. Like what are you actually doing to go earn your money? Like if I got a client, right, who wants to sell their home and they sign an agreement with me, I'm now going to spend money on things like photography, videography, mailers, print marketing, right? I'm going to spend signs, lockboxes, flyers. Like I'm going to spend money on all of that to do my job, which is to bring buyers to the table for that listing. But most of you, as a buyer agent, somebody agrees to work with you, and you just sit on your ass and wait for them to tell you when they want to go see a property. I think I want to challenge you, if you're listening or watching right now, go work for your fucking money. Like, go do something. Spend some money. Spend some time. Spend some energy. Spend some effort to go and find what somebody's looking for. Like, you stand to make $5, $10, I mean, in our market, $50,000 when you find somebody a home. And all you want to do is sit on your ass and wait for them to, tell you what they want to go see. Like, go find it. Go make it happen. Don't wait for it to happen.
I love that. I want to get real technical. There's the three things that I heard you say that really stood out to me there are local area knowledge, relationships, and off-market opportunities.
I'd say hard work. But hard work is finding off-market opportunities.
Yeah, I think hard work listed in there was a couple subcategories in there. I want you to give one tactical advice, one tactical piece of knowledge on how to do each of these. So local area knowledge, give me one thing. If I'm an agent, I want to get better local area knowledge, what do I do?
I think one very tactical thing you could do is go make friends with the people at the Historical Society in your community. And yeah, it's that creepy old guy or old girl that's in there that you can barely stand up and is just kind of awkward.
They're probably wearing suspenders and they probably have a cane. Male or female, either way, that's probably them. They might have a weird hat too.
Yeah, those people are actually amazing. We actually have shot a lot of videos. We've partnered with all the local historical societies. I love to learn the history of the city because Zillow doesn't know the history of the city. They don't know the fact that here in La Mesa, Babe Ruth was actually what now would be called an influencer, what then was called a spokesperson for a community on Mount Nebo. Like, nobody knows that shit. The fact that I know those details, that separates me from the competition. So I would say if you want one tactical thing you can do is partner with the local historical society and go meet with them and just learn, just get educated on the history of the city.
And that's super easy. I think a lot, I'd probably say most, if not all, have some sort of membership that you can join, and it's probably like $6 a year. They're hurting for money from my experience, and their memberships are so low. You can come in at Diamond, Platinum, Ultra, Gold level for like $30 a year, and be their number one donor. You build that kind of relationship, like that's solid. Cool. Okay, that's great for local area knowledge. What about relationships specifically with other agents?
Yeah, I think this is one that a lot of people screw up. I've been in some markets. So I've traveled the country a lot and spoken in a lot of places, and I've been baffled in some of the cities that I go into how much shit realtors talk about each other. It is mind-boggling to me how much shit they talk about each other. Like, oh, well, she's a shady bitch and he's a shyster and blah blah. I'm like, whoa, like, and then I'll meet the person, the shyster and the shady bitch, and then they're saying the same thing about everybody else, and I'm like,
that's the East Coast lingo. They've got it.
Like, I'm baffled by that because here's my thing is, I mean, I'm in a business venture with Dan Beer in our EXP adventure. Like, that came about because him and I would just go grab lunch every 3 to 6 months, as we respected each other as being some of the top producers in town, and we would just go get lunch every once in a while, and that turned into an amazing business venture 4 years ago, right? And one of the best business decisions I ever made, and that was just because I would go grab lunches with him. There's another person in town that I'm meeting up with in 2 days from now to talk about a business adventure that's another very successful agent in town. I make a point to make friends with all of my biggest competitors, because the thing that I've learned is, sure, we might compete against each other from time to time, but we're going to work together exponentially more times than we're going to compete against each other. And so, sure, I might, compete against Dan for a listing here and beat him, and he might beat me on the next one. But in between, we're going to work together on 5 different deals where he brings a buyer for my listing or I bring a buyer for his listing. And so I've just found that having those relationships is so damn valuable. The fact that I could call, all of these different agents and say, hey, it's Kyle. And boom, they're like, oh, what's up, dude? And like, yeah, I got a buyer for 123 Main Street. Oh, cool. Well, hey, here's where we're at with things. If you can come in at this number, the deal's yours. Like, that is so valuable. So how do you do that? Put yourself out there. Go to networking events, right? There's your Association of Realtors puts on events. There's probably a YPN group, a Young Professional Network within your association. There's some really great groups, ARIA, NAREB, and NAREP, which are ethnic organizations.
Did you say NAREP twice?
NAREB and NAREP. One with a B, one with a P.
Okay.
And they're spelled. One is NAHREP, and one is NAREB.
Okay. Tom and I looked at each other and go, those are the same letters.
NAREP and NAREB. But those organizations, they put on a lot of great events. I speak at them. You don't have to be of that ethnicity to be a part of that group. Those are they just support initiatives for home ownership within those ethnicities, which I think is great, and I'm a huge supporter of that. So I've spoken at a lot of those events. So put yourself out there. Go to those. Real Producers is a magazine that seems to be in every city. They put on, like, Jessie, who runs it here in San Diego, puts on amazing events. Like, her events are killer, and she gets some of the best agents at those events. So put yourself out there. Go to those events and just strive to, every time you go to an event, meet 5 new people. And if you could just do one of those events one of those events a month. Like,
so that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, if you could go to one event a month and you meet 5 new people every single time, especially you're going to meet the movers and the shakers, like, those 5 relationships are really valuable.
Also, there's things like broker opens, and then you can host your own events too. You don't have to rent out a venue. You can host a happy hour at a restaurant and say, hey, can I get the patio, and invite some of your biggest competition to come and hang out. Cool. I like that. Yours was way better, but I thought mine was good too. And then we've talked about this before, and I really like where your brain's at with this. How do you do that hard work and find some off-market opportunities? And maybe you want to save 1 or 2 just for us, but I know you've got a couple in your bag that are really good.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go with the most simple one. Like, if I know I have somebody who wants to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on Mount Helix, and they need 1,500 square feet, like, I'm not going to wait for it to hit the MLS. That is, if I'm waiting for it to hit the MLS, that is a red ocean strategy. A red ocean is bloody. It's competitive. There's sharks in the water. It's not a place you want to be. I want to use a blue ocean strategy. And a blue ocean strategy would be reaching out to my title rep and saying, hey, send me a list of everybody who's got a 3-bed, 2-bath, home on Mount Helix that's, plus or minus 1,500 square feet, plus or minus, let's say 400 square feet. Just give me a list of everything. Now, depending on your state, your rules, some title companies can literally give you the names, phone numbers, email addresses. Some states can't, so you'll have to play around with that. If you're in a state, they can give you the list, but not the names, phone numbers, and email, or the names you'll be able to get, but they can't give you the phone numbers and email addresses. There's companies that you can find this information. You can go on a budget end, truepeoplesearch.com. Truepeoplesearch.com is free. just punch in a name and you can find a phone number. Or BEN verified, BEEN verified. That one's like $20 a month. You could punch in an address and get a name and use the name to get the phone number. And then there's another one, if those are like ones you have to do one by one, or Cole Realty Resource, COLE, Cole Realty Resource. You could upload a list, a CSV file with names and addresses, and it'll go pull phone numbers and emails for you. And you could do that in bulk. So, and if you want a discount, I get a hookup with Cole. They just sent me over a new thing to give people a hookup. So if you want that hookup, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Kyle Whissel, and I'll make an intro to Cole for you to get you hooked up over there.
And then title, they can send you addresses regardless of what.
Yeah,
right?
They could send you addresses and names at a minimum. And then in some states, they can do all that extra work for you.
But at least,
but
you can mail them shit.
Yeah, so now you have this list. Now, what's a typical strategy? Send them something in the mail, send them an email, and then call them and text them.
Yep.
And just reach out. Hey, Bryan, it's Kyle Whissel. You still own the home over at 123 Main Street? Yeah, okay, great. Well, hey, I'm working with the Smith family. They're a military family here in town. They're really looking to move on to Mount Helix. I don't know if you've been following values. Have you been tracking what's going on with values lately?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, these guys, they're crazy, and they want to live on Mount Helix. They want to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on the mountain. They're willing to pay a crazy price to get on the mountain. I mean, if I could bring you a crazy offer for your home, would you at least be willing to look at it?
Sure thing.
Right? Like, that's it. That's your conversation. And then you're sending, again, it's a hard mail, email, phone call, text message. If you polled 100 people that have a home that matches your client's criteria and you have that conversation 100 times, I guarantee you're going to get some opportunities in there.
And then another thing I thought about as we talked about asking your title company for this list, if the list is unmanageable, you can also sort it out by how many years they owned it, right?
Yep.
And so maybe you even say, hey, I want a list in breaking in segments. I want a list for people that have owned it 25 years and more. I want a list that people have owned it that for 15 to 25 years and 2 to 15 years. And so that way you can kind of change your communication based on those lists.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would start with the longest tenured people. That's just going to be your natural success because people are staying in their homes a lot longer than they ever have. And now the interest rates are rising. People are going to stay even longer because now it's harder to move because how do you leave your 3% interest rate when it's now 5%? So that's actually going to further perpetuate the problem of not enough inventory.
Yep.
So I think it's backfiring to a certain extent, but that's the nature of the beast.
And then one last thing on that before we go into our widgets. Hopefully you have yours.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things I saw one of our agents do, he hand wrote a card and then scanned it and then printed it. And it looked pretty good. He was able to be a little bit specific about it. And I love the fact that he's like, hey, my buyers, or I have a family that are looking to buy a house, the Smith family, blah, blah, blah. The only thing I said is next time, print it in blue ink so it actually looks a little more handwritten. But yeah, he scanned it and printed it. And
just fed the cards through one at a time, or?
I think he did it on a piece of paper and then folded it.
Okay, cool.
So, but yeah, and I mean, if you want to get, another thing I've heard from the Tom Ferry ecosystem is you have a printed letter that goes into depth, blah, blah, blah. But then you put a little sticky note on that. You can handwrite that real quick. Call me. I'll offer you a crazy offer and put that on the inside. And that way now it's a little bit more personalized. So cool.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of that. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed the show. If you got a question for us, throw it in the comments section. And if you want to get more episodes of the show, you can hit that subscribe button and little notification bell, and YouTube will take care of the rest. And if you are listening on a podcast platform, on Spotify or Pandora, one of those, if you could hook us up the review on there, that means a lot to us to help us grow our audience, so it's greatly appreciated. And if you have questions you want to have us answer on a future episode of the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network, email newsletter, and private Facebook group, and get dialed in with our video content creation course, all at thewhisselway.com. With that said, we're going to dive into our Whissel widget of the week. This is something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have more fun. What do you got, Bryan?
This little app on my iPhone saved me a ton of time today. I was at one of our offices and they have little plaques, and I go, we're missing a plaque. We need to get one made. And so I asked Eric, one of our agents there, I said, hey, do you have a tape measure? He looked at me like I was crazy. He goes, use the Measure app on your phone. I'm like, what are you talking about? I haven't downloaded that. It's literally pre-installed on my phone. You just type in Measure on your iPhone, and it literally will scan your surrounding, and it'll say, okay, this was like 3.5 inches tall by 6 inches wide. You can take a picture of it right there, so that way all the measurements are done for you. It was really, really easy, like annoyingly easy. And it was a tool that I've had this whole time, and I never knew. So the Measure app on the iPhone.
Cool. The one I'll go into this, I've been trying this for a while to figure out which is the right one. So we have an issue in our office where a lot of our agents are uncomfortable making phone calls with other people around. There's, I think, a few reasons for it. One, there's a lack of confidence sometimes. That could be a little bit tough. One, you might be on private conversations. So that factors into it. The other thing is people, when they're in rooms where there's a lot of people, there tends to be a lot of background noise, which is a big problem. And the other part of it is that there's a lot of distractions, especially if you're using AirPods, like these little things. I told my agents to just all take their AirPods and throw them in the trash.
I know, I want a pair. When you throw those away, just give them to me.
Yeah, for two reasons, right? Number one is there's shit for noise canceling, because you got to think these things are in your ears and they're hearing your voice, which depending on, I have a huge head, so it's probably like 6 inches away. For most of you, it's probably like 4 inches away. So it picks up a ton of background noise. And then the second thing is they're so damn small, most people don't know you have them in, so people bug you and come talk to you. So I've been researching different headsets to find a headset that's an over-the-ear headset, because I think it's really important to have an over-the-ear for a couple of reasons. One, nobody's bugging you when you have a full over-the-ear headset on. People know, all right, you're in the zone. Like, leave him alone, leave her alone. So that's part of it, is to shield people from coming and bothering you. And then the second part that's really important with a headset is having a microphone that actually cancels out noise. So I've tried multiple different headsets. I wanted to start with something lesser expensive. Hopefully it could make it more affordable for our agents. So I tried like an $80 set from JLab. It was hot garbage.
He literally called me. You literally called me, and I was like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Call me back later. I didn't know you were testing a headset. It was
Brian's
so
been
bad.
my test dummy, so I've been intentionally calling him when I'm in loud spaces with a headset on. So either in the car with music on or in the office with people all around. And the JLab, which was like $80, was hot garbage. Didn't do anything. But it looked good. I mean, it was cool. It was like black and blue, and like the microphone slid out. But as far as blocking out noise, it was garbage. So then I put a poll out to find some other stuff, and then one from Rand McNally, which is like a mapping company. Somebody's like, "Oh, this one is great," and then I went on their YouTube channel, and they got this guy who's wearing it next to like an air compressor. Oh, look, you can't even hear the air compressor. They're full of shit. That thing's hot garbage too. So the Rand McNally, which was like $250, hot garbage. So the whole time I was trying to find lesser expensive options. Then the Jabra evolved to 85, because that's the shit, right? Like I was like, I know it's the best, but it's like $400, and I know a lot of agents don't want to spend $400, but even the $250 ones was hot garbage.
Yeah, it was trash.
So I bought the $400 one. I found like a used pair on Amazon, so I got it for like maybe $250. And it's on like a whole nother level. Like I called Bryan today. I was in the car, had the music turned up, driving down the road, and it was about as clear as you could get, all things considered. So if you're looking for a really badass headset that you can wear in a room full of people, block out the noise, and it even like lights up red when you're on a phone call to make it extremely clear to people around you, leave me the fuck alone. Jabra evolved to, and then it's the 85. So the 85 is over the ear, the 75 is on ear. But I think the over the ear is important. to really block out all the noise. And it has active noise cancellation and everything. It's pretty sweet.
When you talk on the microphone, can you hear your voice in your headset?
I always hear my voice in my head, so I don't know.
You're like, I hear lots of voices.
Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. But that headset's fire. Jabra evolved to 85.
Cool.
Sweet headset. So hopefully you guys got some value out of the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'm Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty in San Diego.
I'm Bryan Koci. See you guys next week.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.